Come thrifting with me. As you may know, I've already decorated for Halloween, so I don't specifically need any more items for the Halloween season. However, I am always open to replacing some of my pieces with more vintage pieces. With that,
And this is where I accidentally lost audio because it hooked up to my car. You would think I would know better by now. But I was just talking about how they also have Christmas items out, so I was going to look through those. I have a hard time saying no to Christmas. Right when I walked in, they did have this sweet Courier and Ives bell. When I decorate for winter months, I don't have a lot of pieces like this, and so I thought the bell would be a great addition. This hanger has been here, and I think it just has such potential. I don't know where I would put it offhand, but I just think it's really great. This clock was $25, and just a reminder that I would like to find one that's just a little bit older for my living room. The one Halloween item I did talk myself into was this pumpkin for $2. It's really cute, and I'm thinking I could put tea bags in here. And of course, it's a pumpkin and a ghost again. Stay tuned to see how I style it. I headed over to the candle section next, and they still have this brass candle holder here. I love it, but I just can't talk myself into $10, especially when I already have quite a few. They did, however, add 2 more black candelabras, just like the ones I have for Halloween. They did add to the Christmas linen, and so I was just going through looking at the tags and seeing what was vintage. Sometimes the cheaper towels do look like they're kind of vintage, although they're just cheap. This one, however, had more of a vintage feel to it. That dark yellow running through it really gave it that 70s vibe, and the way that the tag was sewn in made me think it was older as well. So for $1.50, it'll look so cute in my kitchenette this Christmas. Then I saw these Kmart dinner napkins for only $2. I think they would be so cute to be used in a bag like tissue paper. I was excited to see that someone had donated a lot of their Christmas Village items. This 50-cent snowman was thrown in there, and of course I'm going to get him for a trinket shelf. I liked some of the other pieces, but the base was just too big, and I know it wouldn't fit on any of my shelves. This vintage rug kit caught my eye. It is like needle punch, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it, and so I did leave it for someone else, even though it's really neat. After that, I looked at gift paper and was so excited to find this 1992 Hallmark vintage paper. It's unopened and the colors are gorgeous. I definitely grabbed that. I don't even remember the price. I was so excited about it. I thought that snowman was really cute, but I don't really decorate with snowmen. And then this would-be garland caught my eye under the table. It was only $2, and I think it would be really cute on my mantle with my greenery. This $2 cake pedestal was really sweet and could be styled in a lot of different ways, but I left that one for someone else as well. And in my kitchenette, I have one of these Rubbermaid Lazy Susans. I was trying to see if it worked. It does. They're so versatile, and so for $1.50, I had to grab it, even if it's just for under the sink and dish soap and stuff. Next, I stopped by the lace. This had 3 different colors in it for 75 cents. That was an easy yes for me. For 50 cents, I found this beautiful gold color. You guys know I'm a sucker for that color. And I debated this one for a long time. I didn't really want to spend $2, but that teal is perfect for something for my sister, so I talked myself into it. As for all of the other lace that you will see that I continue to grab, I do have a project in mind for Christmas, and so you're just going to have to trust me that these are hopefully going to be used very soon. With that being said, I decided to check out the ribbon as well. I don't love the kind of gift ribbon that creases and is meant for like balloons and stuff, so I really just only grabbed that little bow and moved on. When I saw this felt, I love the color, obviously. It was only 25 cents, and I think this could really work in that frame that I got last weekend, the oval one. So stay tuned for that project. I happened to swing by the Halloween stuff again. I liked that little duck with the hat on, but for $1, I just didn't know if I wanted to buy the whole bag, so I left it for someone else. And then I noticed some Christmas bags. These had vintage vibes to me. I really liked the 50-cent Mickey. This one with all the cats and dogs was only 25 cents. And then this one will work for the game my sister and I play, and it's only 10 cents. So those were great deals. Moving on to linen, I have been trying to collect washcloths and hand towels and even towels of all different colors because I have an idea for my main bathroom. So I grabbed 2, and stay tuned because I'm really excited about that. I'm always finding really great picture frames. This one was only $1, and then I really lucked out and found an 11 by 14 for only $2. It's very rare I find one that big. Lamps today were 50% off, so that meant that this one was only $2.50. I really liked the overall look of it, and it could be a really cute kitchen lamp. It's a really great size. However, there were a lot of cracks and kind of damaged areas, and so I sat and thought about it for a long time and eventually talked myself out of it. Then I swung by to look at cookbooks. I had been thinking about doing a Halloween hot cocoa station, and this would be a really great base. So for $1, I grabbed it. Then I just happened to see this freezer cookbook for only $1. It would be really cute in my kitchenette with my other vintage cookbooks, and so I had to check the date. It was from 1948, and so for $1 I said yes. Before checking out, I did see this shoe shine box, and I have been looking for one of these. My husband has a lot of shoe shine materials, and it would be great to store them in here, and it would be a decorative way of storing them as well. But at the end of my trip, I just wasn't ready to spend $5, unfortunately, so I did pass. In total, I spent $22.20. What a great day at the thrift store.
Come put some thrift finds away with me.
I love to thrift, but I love to style, store, and organize my thrift finds even more. So let's get to it. I always like to start off with earrings and making sure that they're plenty clean. These earrings, however, are clip-ons, and I'm going to make them into studs. So first, I'm going to pull off the clip-on part before I wash them. I just took some needle nose pliers and peeled it off. I left the base so I had something to put my post to. And I'll do that as soon as I soak it for about 15 minutes in hydrogen peroxide. It'll shine them up as well as disinfect them. You may have also noticed these other earrings, these bats. I'm not going to clean those because I'm going to make them into refrigerator magnets. I'll start off by pulling the posts, which ended up being really easy. And now I need to get my hot glue gun. And since I'm headed to my craft closet, I need to grab a few other items. This yarn, for instance, goes to the craft closet as well as this gift bag. I will also be putting away this gift paper to the left, so I'm going to grab that container. In the craft closet, I keep a lot of my craft supplies as well as gifting items. The gift items are right here at the top, and the yarn that I grabbed does go into this container. I sort it by color, and since I don't want to do that right now, I'm going to put it in the to be put away bag. This really neat bag I'm going to put in my gift bags container. It's so cute, and I can't wait to find the perfect use for it. Let's grab this container with all of my folded gift paper, and we can't forget to grab the glue gun. Now that the glue gun is plugged in and heating up, I'm going to put away all of my gift paper. I used to store it all in one big chunk. However, I have learned it's easier for me to sort them. So I have some bridal shower, some wedding, some basic non-specific holiday, some birthday, and this baby shower one. I don't have index cards yet, although I'm really considering it. But after flipping through, I'm able to find where the basic goes, where the wedding items go, as well as the birthdays, baby showers, etc. The divisions are very similar to my card sections, so I really should add some cardboard pieces here so it would make it easier for me to find. So I guess stay tuned for a future project of mine. Now that it's all put away, I'm going to clean up the box a little bit. I'm going to put it back in the craft closet. I have more gift wrapping to do, so some of it will be gone soon. The glue gun is hot, so let's get our magnets ready. Over in my desk area, I do have a couple of special craft items like my magnets, and these are very small, so they will require very small magnets. Thankfully, I just happen to have some. My fingernails get in the way so much, but the silicone sleeve for my finger really helps out. Plus, I can get some of that extra slop around the sides. Once they cool, they're ready to go on to my refrigerator gallery. Here is my October Halloween refrigerator gallery, and I'm going to add these to it. I want to avoid the other bats, and so I think that's a really good spot for the first one. The second one I think looks really good here, although I decided to turn it. I don't know if I love them at the same angle, but it kind of looks like they're following each other, so I'm going to leave it. Those were really cute ads. Next, let's do these 1970s photos that my grandma gave me. They were from a trip to the Grand Canyon, and she was going to throw them away. I said, absolutely not. I love the vibe of them, so I'm going to save them in case I want to frame some. You guys know I love framing anything and everything, so I'm going to add them to my desk area in case I can use them in the future. Let's move on to this spoon, which I did already clean. It goes to my kitchenette. And yes, we are scheduled to get our fridge and microwave wrapped later this week. The spoon does measure 1/4 cup, which I think is super neat. I don't know the brand, but it has vintage vibes for me. And since it measures, I'm going to put it with the rest of the measuring spoons. Now let's put away these cards. I got some present tags, this blank paper, which is actually vintage stationery, an anniversary card, and just a blanket congratulations card. We'll go back to my desk area, and this time we're going to the bottom drawer to file our cards. Since the present tags are blank, they're going to go to the blank area, as well as the stationery. The general congratulations card will go here, and of course the anniversary will go to the anniversary and weddings area. Before moving on to my records, I do want to go ahead and rinse and dry these. I need to make sure that they are plenty dry before I put any glue on them. And anytime I'm using E6000, I will put things on a paper plate. And while making sure that those are absolutely dry, I'm going to put away these records. They were such good finds. The three boy bands, if you will, are all browns and oranges, and so I think that they may end up on my record wall. With that being said, I'm going to put them in the regular grab area while Elvis will go over to the corner. And before I do that, I thought I heard a bang. It was this picture frame. It fell, so I'm going to put that back real quick. Once I move my creepy cloth out of the way, there's plenty of room to add these 3 records right here for the time being. I'll add the creepy cloth back, and then I will take Elvis over to the other side. Absolutely nothing against Elvis, but since it is light blue, he probably won't come out for decoration until winter. But he's still accessible to listen to. Let's finish up those earrings now. Underneath the magnet container I grabbed earlier, I do have a decorative goods container. This is where I keep all of my earring sets. I have 2 different size posts, and I'm going to grab the bigger ones because I think they're a little bit longer. Plus, I think that they'll grab onto the back of that a little bit better. I use the Jewelry E6000 for this process, and I just put a little dab on there and then line it up. The most important part of this is to make sure that your post is nice and straight. You don't want your earrings to be crooked. So there's the first one. I love having that little spot there because that way they are going to be even. Before putting all of that away, I'm going to grab a couple of earring backs too. I will let them dry for about 48 hours before I wear them, and this is where I put them to dry. That's all for today, though. Thanks for coming along, guys. Come antiquing with me. I happened to just pass a small little store that I am honestly not sure if it's a thrift store or an antique store, but they have a table out front with 50-cent cassette tapes. Naturally, I want to see what else they have, so let's get to it. I have to admit, the boxes of cassettes were definitely a little overwhelming. They were mostly grouped by genre, and so I found some 90s country. George Strait was a favorite of my mom's and my sister and I when I was little. I loved Dusty. So I went ahead and grabbed 2 George Straits right away. I checked to see if this Alabama had the cheap seats on it. It didn't, but I still debated it. After standing in the sun for a while, though, I decided to grab just one more George Strait and move on. That is when I happened to look up and realize that they had a cassette shelf? Box? I'm not sure what you would call this. What I do know is that I have been on the lookout for one so I can display my vintage playing cards. This one didn't have a tag on it, but the one underneath had $10 on it, and I was willing to spend that since I have not yet seen one. So as I headed inside, I did see all of this lace in this basket for 25 cents a piece. If you've been following my thrifting adventures, you will know that I have been collecting lace. Not only do I wrap gifts with it, but I also have an upcoming project, and so I've been collecting some for it. I was trying to grab as much as I could. 25 cents a piece was such a good deal. There were some, though, that were 3 or 4 inches wide, and I really just don't have a use for those, and so I left those behind. I think I ended up getting about $4 in lace, which is such a good deal. Once I got inside, I realized it was much more of an antique setup. The prices were antiquing prices, and they had some really neat stuff, but it was kind of hard to find the good deals. And if my family wouldn't have been waiting on me, I might have dug through this a little bit more. I did see this price on this Beatles album of $50, so I kind of had an idea of where they would be priced anyway. This Kennedy campaign sign was pretty neat and really in good shape considering. They also had some greeting cards, but I couldn't seem to find a price on any of that. Plus, with greeting cards and postcards the way that I currently purchase them, I just have a hard time talking myself into antiquing prices. They did happen to have a lot of tins, and I've been wanting to find a couple not only for my kitchenette refrigerator, but my regular refrigerator in the regular seasons, so not holiday specific. When looking at tins, you can tell how vintage they are by if they have a barcode, obviously, and then also the top. If they have a metal slide or a metal opening, then they are definitely a little bit older versus obviously the plastic, which means that they are a newer one, which was too bad because I really liked the color of this one and the price. Most of them were $5, like this one was $5. I love that orangish kind of coral color. This cream of tartar was still completely full and kind of gross. And I know I said non-holiday specific, but the pumpkin spice one, I liked that it was kind of plain. It was only $2, a little bit on the older side, so I decided to get it. I could easily start collecting movie posters, but I know it could get out of hand very easily. That one was only $60, and I thought that that was a really good deal, but I have to draw the line. So I went to checkout, and I spent $15 total. How unexpected. Come make some thrifty updates with me. Today, I'm going to find a spot to hang this Home Sweet Home sign, which may require me hanging this frame as well. We're going to implement this new Halloween decoration, and we're going to finally put together my storage under bed boxes, I guess. Either way, I love organization. Let's start with the sign. By our front door, we kind of have a drop space, and for years we have had this "Welcome to our home" sign. Yes, please ignore the cord, it is lighting this area. It has a burlap background, and I just feel generally that I've moved beyond this style. So when I thrifted this Home Sweet Home sign, I thought maybe it could replace it. I could certainly put a rope on it and hang it similarly to the one that was already there, but I feel like the frame is just a little bit too small, and so I'm going to hang it on the original screw. Cue Muffin coming to see what I'm doing. She was very helpful in telling me whether this was level or not. I honestly think she was just bug hunting. But I really do like the way that looks, but obviously there's something missing toward the bottom. I have this other wooden frame that I think complements it and would look really cute right here. The frame was pretty banged up. I thrifted it that way, but it is not a problem at all. I would usually just rub it with feed and wax. However, it has already been lacquered, and so I am going to just take all those scratches and color them in. The key with these markers is wiping it immediately after with a paper towel. That way it blends easier. So I spent some time doing that, and here is how it looks now. It's like brand new. They're magic, I swear. The markers are a thrifter's must. Now I need to pick out something to frame that complements the Home Sweet Home sign. I was first inclined to put a family photo there, but I didn't like the idea of my kids' pictures being by the front door. So I started looking through my vintage painting books to see if there was anything that I could frame. I didn't have a lot of luck. However, I do have this very fall photo. It doesn't necessarily match, but it does kind of complement. And since I was having no luck, I decided to go ahead and go with the fall photo for right now. I'm sure I'll be able to find a Christmas one for December and to finish out the year, so this is really January me's problem. So the Home Sweet Home sign went back up, and then I had to put a screw in the wall to hang the bottom one. I did an okay job. Once I stepped back though and I saw it all together, there was a lot of black in the space and not a lot of warm hues. So I visited my decoration room and I pulled a whole bunch of browns and warm tones to swap out items for. And some of them did need to be cleaned. After about 30 minutes of moving things around, here is what I landed on. Everything is still in this space, just kind of moved to different containers, and I do need to find one more warm basket in that upper left-hand corner. Moving into a fall vibe, that bag doesn't really go anymore, and so I put my event bag there instead. This became a much bigger project, but I really love the update. It feels so much more inviting. So let's move on to my new pumpkin container. It definitely used to be a candle because there was wax residue all over it, but it cleaned up really well. My idea with this is to put it in my kitchen and to add some tea bags to it. Now, I should use these green ones because that would be really Halloween-y. However, I don't like the mint. I like the regular green tea. And even though it is very cute, I'm going for function as well. And so I'm going to add those right next to the coffee canisters. Once I backed away, I thought it looked a little small. And so I thought adding a little riser would make it more substantial. The riser itself matches the lids, and so I think it looks cute. Finally, let's move on to the storage boxes. In my primary bedroom, I do have some storage bags pushed underneath my bed. They're mostly extra blankets and pillows because I have other priorities for my linen closet. The zip bags are not cute, and so I thought since these kind of match my room and the vibe, that these would be a good addition. And honestly, way easier to put together than I thought they would be. Cue Muffin, again, a box. Of course, she immediately got into it. Once I moved her out, I was able to pull those bags out from underneath the bed, which are definitely an eyesore, and get them ready to go into the boxes. I am going to go ahead and leave them in the zipper containers. That way they don't get a lot of dust on them. And while I'm going through them, I'm going to get rid of that pillow because it is not feathered down. It's just cotton and super flimsy. So with 3 pillows added, it fit perfectly. In the other box, we do have this extra leaning pillow and an anxiety blanket that we get out pretty often, so I'm not going to leave it in a zip bag. I slid them back under the bed, and it's such an improvement. And we don't push them back because there is a vent back there. But that is all for today. Thanks for coming along, guys.
Come make some refrigerator magnet frames with me. I have a refrigerator gallery that I swap out routinely, and every time I do, I get questions about my frames. Most of these were just regular frames I made into magnets, but I was inspired by this particular frame. I have 2 of these frames that I did thrift, but I noticed that the corners look so much like some book corners that I recently got from Schmamazon. And since many of you say that you have trouble finding frames like this, why don't we make some? I picked up this 4x4 frame at the thrift store, but clearly it's from Walmart. It's pretty thick, and so I'm going to take out the glass. If you didn't want to use glass, you could also use this acrylic board that I got at Family Dollar, and it was only $1.25. The little 4x4 frame came with a cardboard backing. However, the acrylic board did not, and I do have some kind of cardboard material in my craft closet that I'm going to use. I did end up having to shave this down a couple of times since everything has to line up just perfectly. So now it's time to decide what I'm going to frame. This greeting card is perfect for the smaller frame. I just adore that photo. I had some other ideas to put in my kitchenette. However, all of the cards were pretty small.
This one already has kind of a border going, and so I thought it might be easier to work with. Plus, I can use it at Christmas time in my kitchenette. The colors are perfect. I use greeting cards a lot when I'm framing things because there are so many cool vintage images. And when I need to trim something, I just open up the scissors and slide the scissors down to mark where I need to cut. When I was cutting this one, I decided to go ahead and cut through the entire card and then use both pieces. That way it would be a little bit thicker and a little bit more substantial. Thankfully, I did because that black back piece I didn't end up being able to use. Once I lined everything up, I did need to trim the image just a little bit more. Again, everything needs to line up perfectly. But now that that one's done, let's move on to the Christmas card. I decided to go ahead and cut off the back flap because it was folded where they didn't line up. The card is just a little bit smaller than the black, so I'm going to put some orange on the back, so there's just a little bit of an orange trim. And the scissor tip did not work on construction paper. It ripped it, so beware. Nevertheless, I think it worked out. This is also when I realized that the card is not actually very square at all and kind of crooked, especially that top border. But that's okay. Beggars can't be choosers. So now let's add these decorative book corners. I have used these for books. I think that they can really just elevate a look and really add to books as decor. But I'm really excited about being able to use them for this type of thing. I have so many to choose from. I chose a couple of brass ones. These smaller ones have a very antique type look to them, and so I thought that they would work perfectly for the 4x4. Once I slid the first corner on, it didn't grab that black piece, and so I just decided to get rid of it. It is just slightly smaller. Once I put on all 4 corners, I will go back with some needle nose pliers and just pinch them so they stay on. If you have real glass, be super careful with this so you don't crack your glass. Once those were on, I moved on to the larger frame, and I chose bigger corners for this. As you can see, they are made for a large book cover, but it's fine because I can just bend them and they fit perfectly. I love the way that turned out. Now, I could certainly just use these as picture frames. However, I want to use them as refrigerator magnets, so I'm going to add a couple magnets to them. I do buy these really big, heavy magnets from Amazon. It comes with a stick adhesive, and that's perfect for this project. And in my experience, that adhesive is pretty strong, knock on wood. Once I add one of these really strong magnets to each of these, let's test them out. This smaller one is more of a fall picture, so it won't stay here, but I wanted to show you what it looks like, and I really love it. The other one will go in my kitchenette. I think the colors look really great together. And once I get my refrigerator wrapped in vinyl tomorrow, it will look even better. If you're going to keep the pictures in these frames and you're a little bit worried about it, maybe scratching your fridge, you can go and just put some hot glue on each of these corners. It's really only touching that black backing, so it won't ruin your pictures. But there you have it, some framed refrigerator magnets. Thanks for coming along, guys.
Come thrifting with me. It's been a minute since I've been to my favorite thrift store, and I am dropping off a few donations today, so I might as well stop in and see if they have any more Halloween or Christmas items out. Let's get to it.
They haven't had their Christmas stuff out since July, but I am always hopeful that maybe they'll get a jump start in the fall. This fall section has things added almost every single time I come. And I thought that my daughter might like this teal pumpkin. It was only 50 cents, and so she can put it in her room. This candy dish looks kind of like a pumpkin. I'm going to guess that's why it's in this section. And $2 I think is a really good deal. It's heavy duty and super pretty. Now, I do live in the Midwest, so I do have access to corn. However, I love this fall corn, and so I am going to get it for my front porch. I believe it was $2. There was also a bag of faux vegetables. I loved the tomato. I wanted just the tomato itself, but for the whole bag, I decided to leave it for someone else. Here's the orange version of that same pumpkin. It was $1.50, so definitely not the same pricer. Then I found a bag of spider rings for 50 cents. I have an idea for those, so stay tuned. And as I was walking by the carts, I noticed this vintage card about getting a new home. I don't have any of those, so I grabbed it. I'm always looking for kids' gift tags as well, so I grabbed that one. And you guys may remember I've been looking for a wood pants hanger, and this one's plastic, but it might do what I'm wanting it for. So again, stay tuned. This coin purse caught my eye. It was Avon 1982. Of course it was. It's like I can sniff it out, you guys. I grabbed that for 50 cents for my purse. And then I decided to take just a little peek at the ribbons. I know I already have a ton, but I do have a project in mind for ribbons, and I want to make sure I have lots of options. In the bath area, they had this sponge holder. I don't love his color. I wish he was a little bit more of an olive green or an avocado green. But for $1.50, I really couldn't pass him up. He is on my thrift wish list. It's just not quite the right color. My granny has a beautiful orange one, and I really wanted something more like that. But I decided to get him since I have a kitchen and kitchenette now. I moved into the vintage area and they had this really nice snuffer. It was $5. Really, really cool. I just didn't need it. There was also a Hummel figurine, which I thought was really neat. He seems to be alone though. I hope he finds a friend. They also added a bunch of kids stuff, and some of this was just in such great shape. I'm always so impressed when the cardboard boxes stand the test of time. I wasn't familiar with any of these, so I was just kind of being nosy and seeing if they had all their pieces. There were a couple of Cupid dolls in the back too, you can see. My cousin is having a baby, but she's doing more of like a whimsical foresty type theme for her nursery, so I always just kind of like to take a look at some of these. The Princess Diana cutouts, though, I was very surprised to see. It was from 1985, perfect condition, super cool. My sister always loved reading about Princess Di. They also added a ton of new needles and sewing items, and so they had a lot of these like giveaway sewing needles. They were from all types of businesses, really neat pieces. I was interested, however, in these little needle keepers, or I'm not really sure what you'd call them, canisters maybe? They were all $1, and some even had advertising on the side of it. I found one I liked because I think it would be really cute on a trinket shelf. I see these kitchen calendars all the time, and I've come across some really neat ones in the past, but the colors of this one have really caught my eye. The greens, the yellows, I love that the barn's kind of orangey. And so I did go ahead and take a look through some of the other ones to see if they had as neat of colors. The 1971 was still in the package even. After going through all of them though, the 1968 was still my favorite. And even though that year specifically doesn't have any kind of special meaning to me, I got to get it for $4. I think it will be so cute in the kitchenette. And now that I have my new cassette holder that I'm going to put vintage cards in, I am going to allow myself to get some vintage cards. These were for Pinochle, but I really liked the box, so I grabbed them. And they were only 50 cents. This Christmas trivet I loved. It had 90s vibes, but it looks like maybe it was older based on the advertising. What do we think? What year do you think that would be? Either way, for $1.50, I had to have it. And is this not just the saddest photo you've ever seen ever? What? Why? It's so sad. And right before checkout, they had doilies in a basket for $1 each. I got the pink one for Easter and a smaller one because I don't have very many small ones. They gave me this American flag bag, and so that is my total haul. I spent $18.64 today. What a great day at the thrift store. Thanks, guys. Come wrap a gift with me for my father-in-law's birthday. He is truly a man who has everything that he wants, and so it's a little difficult to buy for him sometimes. But they do go to the lake a lot, and they have season pass for the Chiefs games, so when they tailgate, I thought that this fly repellent fan might be helpful. Cold weather games are also right around the corner, so I thought this variety pack of hot hands would also be helpful. It was for hands, toes, and super warmers. I also decided to get a lap warmer, which, let's be honest, that's more for my mother-in-law than it is for my father-in-law. We all know who's going to end up using that. I have this leftover box, which still had old tissue paper in it, and I just wanted to see if the hot hands fit in here first before committing. They did, so I am going to take the purple tissue paper and take it to my craft closet. In my craft closet, I have a whole gifting area, and so I'm going to put the purple back while I look for some wrapping paper that will work for his vibe. I have a couple in mind that I've used, I think, for Father's Day and some other things for him in the past, like the fishing ones, but I don't believe I have enough for these two larger gifts. This gold striped one seemed kind of neutral, and so I went ahead and grabbed that. I also like the thin stripes, so I grabbed that one as well. But then I saw the roll of brown, and I think that could really be cute as well. So I grabbed some white tissue paper and my ribbon container and headed back to wrap. I always like to just line the box with tissue paper. It just looks a little bit nicer. So I'm going to put the two hot hand packs in there, and then I'm going to just fold a piece to put on top since it didn't fold over. I do have a couple of these boxes, and I keep any kind of box like this in a tote in the garage because you just never know when you're going to need them. My plan is to stack it like this and wrap them in two different colors. So the top one will be brown because I know I have plenty of it. And I decided on the larger stripes for the bottom box. As soon as I unfolded this paper, though, I realized it was incredibly frail. So I decided to double up on it and just roll it twice. In fact, while I was wrapping this, I actually punched a hole through it with my finger because it was just so brittle. I'm not sure how old it is, but I am thinking for sure 60s, maybe even 50s. But it still folded pretty well, and I really like the way it looks. So let's move on to the other box. I don't know how old this paper is. The tape was very old. It just kind of fell apart when I tried to take it off. There's no grid system on the back of the paper, but it is pretty white in comparison to the other one. So your guess is as good as mine. Either way, the print has a definite mid-century, even 70s vibe. And it was a little bit easier to work with because I wasn't so worried about tearing it. As I was wrapping though, I realized that that little tape piece that I showed you earlier was front and center. So unfortunately, I will have to get a little creative to cover that up. Again, I'm just going to stack them on top of each other like this. And I even considered taping them together, but I think I'll just wrap them up in ribbon and it'll work. My initial thought is a dark brown ribbon, and maybe I could even use some gold for details. When I was digging, I did find a very small little beaded piece of gold, and I think that that could be really cute within the bow. But first, I needed something thicker to cover that tape part, and I think that that is a good piece. So before moving forward with wrapping the entire two gifts together, I just put this one across the brown gift and covered up that small imperfection. Now we can tie them both together. I went back and forth a little bit on the brown or the jute, but I decided to go with my initial gut reaction, which was the brown. I didn't want to have to use it because it is leather stripping and it works so well for my kids' dioramas for school, but that's okay. Maybe I'll just ask for it back very casually. If not, maybe I'll thrift some more soon. So I just did a standard crisscross and then remembered that gold piece. So I laid it across and did some bunny ears. Just kind of tied it in there. I adjusted the ears a little bit to make it look nice. And that is the final look. I will add a card, and since I didn't tape them together, I'm just going to slide it between the two gifts very carefully as to not uncenter them. It's good to go. Happy birthday, Ron. We hope you enjoy it.